Well, welcome back in, everybody, to another, what you know is going to be another outstanding edition of Pick Your Politics. And we're glad to have you looking and listening, whatever platform you might happen to be on. We've got a great guest for you today. I think a gentleman you're going to find very, very interesting. And like I do with all of our guests, if you're not that familiar with this particular candidate, go to his website, kind of vet him, read what he's all about, read his philosophy on different issues, and I think you're gonna really like what you read. But thanks again for joining the show today. But first, please like, share, and subscribe, and please hit the notification bell on YouTube so you know when we release a new show so you don't miss it. Also, please leave us a comment and let us know how we're doing. If you like something, if you don't like something, any suggestions that you might have, somebody that you would like to see on the show that we'll try to get for you. So please make sure to do that for us, and it's very, very well appreciated. Let me give you a little bit of bio on our guest before we bring him on camera. Brandon Davis is currently the Republican candidate for Assembly District 34. Brandon was a previous candidate for governor of Nevada, and I believe at that time, forgive me for not remembering, an independent or a libertarian, I forgot.
I was the libertarian candidate.
You were a libertarian, and you did very well, by the way.
Yeah, third highest vote
as
total.
you know.
Yeah.
Which is excellent, is an excellent showing. He is a small business owner. Brandon owns a digital marketing agency, and that complements his background in communications, marketing, and media. Brandon has had a lifelong commitment to both serving and enhancing the community he lives in, obviously, District 34. His email is info@brandondavis.com. And Brandon is married to a great gal, has two lovely children, great family. Let me start and ask you this. You've got a successful business. Your wife has a business. You got a great family. What the hell made you want to get into politics?
Yeah, great question. It's my kids. I mean, I say this thing over and over again. My kids' future, my kids' education, my kids' safety, it's all too important. The state is too important. I believe it deserves to be fought for.
Yeah, yeah. And I commend you, and people, they'll complain about this, but you got to do something about it. You just can't sit on the couch and complain. If you feel that motivated, jump in and do something. Doesn't have to necessarily be running for an office. Support a candidate, knock on doors with them, pass out flyers, arrange events for them. There's multitudinous things that you can do. For those viewers, Brandon, that are watching or listening, tell everybody, please, the makeup of District 34, the size, the population, the makeup, what kind of people you have living there. And if memory serves me correctly, it's a fairly big district.
Yeah, it is. I mean, all the assembly districts are roughly, when they do the redistricting and the mapping every 10 years based off the census, they try to keep all of them equal. They range between 45,000 to 55,000
right.
Registered voters, depending. Usually about 75,000 yep. residents. My district is about 34% Hispanic. There's a lot of families. It's got a large Jewish population, a lot of hardworking folks. When we're out knocking doors, we're seeing, painting trucks and food trucks and plumbing vans. And, so these are hardworking people that live in this district. And, we're really, really thankful for all the work that we've done there.
How about describing it, and you've heard this before, I know, middle-class neighborhood, and they're proud of their lawns.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a diverse district. I mean, on the western parts, you might find, like Tournament Hills and Eagle Hills and some of these really wealthy neighborhoods in Summerlin, and then on the eastern part, you've got non-HOA communities. You've got smaller houses or apartments. So it's but no matter where you go in the district, you're going to find good people. You find families. There's a lot of folks walking around. There's good parks. There's there's a lot of diversity in
And
that
you
district.
have
and I'm
a
really proud of it.
commonality of concerns
Yeah.
that these people want to talk to you about, that they are concerned
Yeah.
with, as is a whole lot of people, across the country. And that brings me to my next question. When you are knocking on doors, and if you want to get involved and knock on doors, we'll give you his email address again. Get a hold of Brandon. He would love to have you as a volunteers. Never could have enough volunteers, never could have enough money when you're running for political office. What are they telling you, though, Brandon, as far as what their major concerns are?
Yeah, so even before the Republican primary, we knocked over 3,000 doors and talked to thousands of voters.
Wow.
And, so we were able to kind of figure out, what were the most important issues to them. The surveys, the things that we're asking them, what is the biggest issue facing you and your family right now? And so we were able to craft our entire, messaging based off of that. And,
Yeah.
it's still the same thing as it was, back earlier this year. It's inflation. It's the high cost of goods and services. It's the high cost of, their mortgage and their rents. That's the number one issue is the economy. The number two issue is going to be education. It's going to be, that we're still 48th in the nation and that we're not paying our teachers enough, and the outcomes are not where they should be, and parents are not able to choose the best fit for their children. We've seen opportunity scholarships and education savings accounts, all these things, go away, and parents really want them. So that's number two. Number three is going to be crime. It's going to be safe communities. It's going to be, what's happening on our streets. And so
Yeah.
those are the three things that we're 100% focused on.
Yeah, public safety is a big-time issue
Yeah.
with everybody, especially here in Southern Nevada, in Las Vegas, in Clark County, because let's face it, folks, we're tourist-driven. People are coming here from all over the world, and they want to be safe, or they're not coming back, and that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt everybody. You mentioned it or alluded to it a little bit before about the Spanish population. If I'm not mistaken, I think Clark County now is what, a third. About a third of Hispanics that are living here. It's quite a large population. Does that affect your message or the way people are going to perceive what their message should be in talking to a real diversity of people when they go to events and meetings and stuff?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a huge block.
Big block.
A big block. I want to say 1 in 5 small business owners is in the Hispanic community. I mean, it's these are hardworking folks. These are folks that care about family. They care about their streets being safe. They want to have good schools. This is a community that is a very large voting block and, a very large part of this state. And so, we just recently, this last weekend, did a Hispanic Heritage, event. We've got volunteers on our staff in the Hispanic community. I mean, it's important for us to be able to communicate with that community and make sure that they know that we will be an advocate. We will fight for them.
Yeah, that you're going to be sensitive to their needs, just like everybody else. What committee assignments would you be most comfortable with getting up to Carson City?
Yeah, the number one for me is education. So the current Assemblywoman in District 34 that is leaving to run in another race, but up until Election Day, she still holds the office, is Shannon Bilberry Axelrod, and she chaired the Education Committee in the last 2 sessions. And so, that there's going to be a void there. And I know as a freshman, I won't have a shot at that. However, that is
Never
the
know.
number one
Never know.
committee that I would want to be on. We've seen, again, school choice initiatives come through that committee and not get a hearing, not get any kind of conversation. I think that that's appalling. We need to, again, pay our teachers more. We need to bring solutions forth that are going to improve the K through 12 public system, which I've got simple solutions there. And so I think being on that committee is most beneficial to me. And again, parlays back to the whole reason why I'm running in this race. It's for my kids.
Yeah, no, that's well said. Well, you never know. I may have to make a phone call again.
I would love that.
I mean, you don't know. Why do you think, Brandon, and people all over the country, I think, by now are familiar with the problems we've had in the school district here in Clark County. We had a superintendent that was under fire. He said, "Hell with you, I'm quitting." He got sued. He came back. They hired him back, and it's been a mess. It's been a mess. What do you think the number one cause of all this chaos has been, and what would you do to settle things down? I know getting good teachers obviously is paramount. Paying them the right amount of money, because I do think they're underpaid for what they go through. What would you do if you were able to be king for a day over the education department? Would you split up the district? Would you change the curricula? What would you do to kind of settle things down?
Yeah, the easy answer is it's too big. It's too big. That's where we see the biggest issues, right? And we've seen a lack of transparency. We see, fiscal mismanagement. We see a lack of leadership at the top. All the things, and it's just because it's too big. Excuse me. I'm a huge advocate for restructuring our current public school district system. Right now, we've got 17 districts across the state. Colorado has 172, I believe.
Wow.
We need to take a hard
wow.
look, and I've heard, our Assembly Speaker, Steve Yeager, say he's open to the conversation. I've heard others to that conversation. So that is something that I will be fighting for once I get into Carson City, and is pushing to have that conversation. We need to break it apart. We need to break it apart, because what that does is it's going to allow for smaller school districts that can have better accountability, more transparency, be more tuned in with the schools. I mean, imagine if we had a school district that had one high school, one middle school, maybe 2 elementary schools. How easy it would be to manage that, and how much less fiscal waste we would be seeing, right?
True.
And so
true.
I think you're going to get smaller class sizes. You're going to get better outcomes. We're going to have more savings to be able to pay our teachers more. So that's a big win there. I also have a bill that I will propose that would cap the amount of admin staff per school based on student enrollment and teacher level. So we've seen since the year 2000 about an 86% increase in admin pay, what we're paying admin staff at schools. However, teachers and students have barely risen, right? In the last 24 years. And so what we're doing is we're spending all this money for admin staff, for assistant this and assistant that, and all these, and it's wasteful.
Right.
And so I would put a cap on the amount of admin that each school can have.
Good for you. I'll drink to that.
Dependent on how many students and teachers they have. And I think that's going to free up a bunch of money to be able to pay our teachers more, to be able to have better textbooks, to be able to have better facilities and all of those things. So those are ways that I think we can just easily start to have the conversation to fix our public system.
Because when a teacher has to take money out of his or her own pocket to pay for stuff for the classroom, they ain't making enough money. And I think it's there somewhere, and I think your idea, Brandon, is a very, very, very good one. I know the governor is a huge proponent of moving education forward in this state. And by the way, big congratulations to Brandon. Just recently got Governor Lombardo's endorsement. So that's fantastic. How'd you feel about that?
I feel great. Yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of his and what he's done. His 75 vetoes, the highest ever in the history of the state. And as somebody who comes from the Ron Paul days, I love to see it. I love to see bad policy blocked. I'll be. We're doing whatever we can with our campaign to win the seat and hopefully protect his veto power. But I think he's shown a lot of leadership, and I've been pretty proud with the way that he's conducted himself as governor of the state.
Yeah, a lot of people have, and I have, because he's well-intentioned and is a sharp guy, and he's got a pretty good staff behind him, including the lieutenant governor, of course, with Stavros Anthony, and it's really, really all good. But congratulations on that. That's fantastic. Brandon Davis is our special guest right here on another edition of Pick Your Politics. Your platform consists of better economy, better education, safer communities, and better health care. Health care has been a concern here for a while. What can you do up in Carson City in your position to help our healthcare get better?
It's a
Because
big,
it needs to get better.
yes, I agree. It is a big lift. I think there's some things that we can do immediately in this next legislative session that will help. Right now, we have a nursing shortage. I've had some colleagues that have, in previous legislative sessions, proposed adding us to the Nurse Licensure Compact, which would add us along with 42 other states to have reciprocity on licensing to allow nurses to come from other states and be able to get started faster and get to
Yep.
work faster.
There you go.
That was blocked
Good
by
idea.
Democrats in the last legislative
Yeah.
session. That is one thing immediately that we can fill that gap that we are currently experiencing in nursing. I think another thing that we really need to focus on is certificate of need laws. That's a big thing that kind of hinders hospitals from being able to come in and so if a private investor wants to come in and start a new hospital to provide services because there is a lack. There are we've got food deserts just as we've got health care deserts, areas where it's tough for people to get a hospital or get to a hospital, I should
Yeah.
say. So that's a big thing. I think having transparency in prescription pricing, I think is a big thing that, I was just talking to somebody recently, they're like, how are you going to work with Democrats to be able to get things done? That is a big thing right there that, has been proposed by Democrats in the last legislative session and worked on, and that's something that I could work with them on. So, those are just a few things right off the bat that we can do. But I think at the end of the day, I will be a supporter and advocate for anything that is going to increase the amount of competition in the marketplace in regards to insurance, in regards to physicians' clinics, to anything, because when we see more of them and more competition, we see prices drop.
better.
So
Absolutely.
that's where I stand on those. But
Yeah.
we really need to get it done.
It's absolute. We really do because, people leave the state to go for medical services outside the state. We need more doctors. We need more nurses. Probably could use a couple of more hospitals too, as long as we're talking about it. But we got to get some better health care going. Safer communities has been a concern for a while. Again, not only here but throughout the whole state of Nevada, and really across the country with the gates now and the immigrants that are coming over the border and all that stuff. And that ties into homelessness, and that is becoming a bigger and bigger problem here. And I like asking this question to all of the candidates that we have on Pick Your Politics, your idea of, and it's a huge problem, as far as fixing it, what are some of your ideas to get a handle on the homelessness here?
It is a tough issue. I think, where I stand is, just making sure that local municipalities have the autonomy and power to be able to do the things that they need to do on the local. I love that the Supreme Court recently just had that announcement that, pushing it back and allowing cities to be able to do what they need to do.
Right.
Because I just feel like, catering the needs to the community is best on a smaller local level. So in the state legislature, I will be a fan and support anything that allows local municipalities to be able to do what they need to do to curb that. I think we also need to have, the conversation on, there's a lot of talk of homelessness versus the unhoused, right? You have people that sincerely need it. I've talked to people at organizations across the state or nonprofit groups that work directly with homeless that go down into tunnels here in Las Vegas that have their finger on the pulse. And I've been told that, I want to say it was 32% or 34% of the homeless people that they interact with have refused services. Right, so these people just do not want the help. They are fine living, and so that's a question that is really tough to deal with when you have an individual that is just like, I'm good out here on the street.
I don't want the help.
Yeah, and so it's a bit more of a nuanced question than just what is there to do. But again, I do support as a libertarian-minded individual. I think private property rights are one of the most important inherent rights in the world. And so,
100%.
When we have local municipalities that pass laws that say, these people can't be camping out on these,
Yeah.
I fully support that.
Yeah.
But again, I think, we've got a lot of services. I'm close with city council members. I'm close with several folks, and I know we've got the services, we've got the beds, we've got, these things that are available for these folks. So as long as that we've got the services, the wraparound services, I think is the kitschy term that people like to use, to be able to take care of the ones who actually need it, which we do,
Yeah.
and I'm proud of that. In funding that more and making sure that we've got those services is something that I'm a fan of and will support. But again, I think we really need to have a conversation about the ones that don't want the help.
Want the help, yeah.
And that's a difficult conversation to have, but I think it's an important one.
Yeah, it is very, very
And
important.
there's the mental health factor in there too. I mean,
Without a doubt.
And I think we've seen over the last 30 to 50 years, the amount of mental health facilities, right? These live-in facilities, have been defunded. They've been removed. Counties and cities and states have closed them. We've got one, here in Clark County that is just sitting there completely empty. So, I wonder if we need to start having that conversation again about these facilities and what homelessness has been, driven by the fact that we do not have these mental health services for these folks anymore. So lots of nuance in it, lots of different ways to talk about it, but I'm here to have the conversation.
Continue to go, and the benefits, the pros and cons. I mean, it's all pros. That type of thing. It is a serious problem, and it's a complicated problem. You just can't throw money at it. Or throw everybody in jail. That's not going to do a darn thing.
Yeah, I was 6 years old. My mom, I was raised by a single mother. We were homeless, at one time, and took in services, and we got from the city and the county and the state and local community organizations. We got what we needed, and we came out of it. Right, we worked hard, and I say we. I was 6, but my mom, was a champion, and so. There's a definite need for services like that. I've been a recipient of it.
No doubt. A better economy. There's multitudinous ways that you can help the economy, but one of the biggest things for me that I think of immediately is getting businesses to come here, hire people, build factories, whatever, offices. What's your vision for that?
Yeah,
How would you attract? Would you give them incentives, or what would you do?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan on tax credits, abatements, things of that sort. I do have a bill that I will propose that is a regulatory sandbox, right? So right now, if a business, or company, corporation wants to come to the state of Nevada to take advantage of, all of the beautiful things that we have in our economic landscape and contribute back to our state, there's a lot of loopholes that some of these companies, depending on, what regulatory agency they need to go through, or even a startup that's a brand new tech startup or something that's new, or so it's difficult. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of bureaucracy.
It is difficult.
Right. So it can take up to years, 2-3 years to be able to do this thing.
Yes.
And so this bill would be a regulatory sandbox, and what that is that would allow corporations and businesses and startups to be able to get started while they're moving on their paperwork. Right now, they have to get everything done before they can operate business. So this would allow them to get started sooner, save them millions of dollars, makes it more lucrative for these companies to start or to move here. And so that is something that would be huge for our economic development, our economic diversification, and all of those things. So that's a big deal, and we've seen policy institutes be really, really firm on this stuff. It can work. We've seen it, proof of concept in other states, and so that's something that I'll do my first year.
No doubt. Let me throw this at you. If you had a choice, a favorite, a preferred type business, who would you like to see start coming here?
Yeah, I think AI. I think AI and technology.
Okay.
That would be the big one, because that's number one, because that's the future. I think that's the biggest revolution that we're going to see over the next 10 to 20 years. It's just going to be artificial intelligence, robotics, things of that sort. The second one, I think, closing the lithium loop. right? So right now we're not processing lithium the way we can mine it, right? But
Right.
then it's getting shipped out.
Right.
I want to see us mining and processing and then selling all here in the state. I think that this
Okay.
could be the biggest boon for Nevada ever. I think it could be something that helps our environment. I think it can help
Yeah.
a lot of things
I
moving
agree.
forward. And instead of sending that money overseas, it all stays here.
I agree.
So those are two big things
Yeah.
I'd love to see: the lithium processing, and I'd
Yeah.
love to see AI in tech.
Yeah. Now, I heard a rumor that AI is writing some of your speeches when you do town halls and stuff. Is that true?
Definitely not. I love to write. I love to write.
Do you
Dennis,
like to
yeah.
write?
I
That's
do.
good.
I do. Yeah. I don't get to do as much of it now, but I do love it.
That's good.
So-
It's going to be interesting to see where AI goes because, like you say, it's coming on more and more over the horizon in different facets of business. It's going to be interesting to see where it ends up. So why do you call yourself now a moderate Republican?
Well-
What has changed for you since you ran for governor?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot. I probably tend to have a little bit different philosophies on the social side of things. I mean, I think, in my background, listen, when I was in my, 18, 19 years old, registering to vote for the first time, I registered as a libertarian because I didn't, it's
Yeah.
kind of like for me, as a rebel, a young person, it's like, I don't see myself with these guys or these guys. It's, I want to do my own thing. But I've always, thought, in that fiscally responsible, socially liberal kind of area. And of course, as you get older, things change. You start opening businesses, you become a father, you have children.
Yeah.
You move through life and you see some of these policies, kind of executed in real life society, and they just don't work. I went to Portland, Oregon, some time ago and walked the streets and talked to the stakeholders in that community. And at one time I was for, let's end the drug war and, the whole thing. And then, Oregon passes that law, and then I'm watching, REI and all these large corporations leaving this town and saying, we're out. And the voters, and even Democrat voters who voted for that original initiative to decriminalize the drugs, now regretting it. And since then, it's been overturned. But
Yeah.
I saw it firsthand. I mean, people defecating on the street and, people shooting up in alleyways. And it was awful.
Terrible.
It did not work out at all how you envision in your brain. So I think that's just a clear example of how, your philosophies can kind of
Yeah,
change. But
definitely.
again, I'm a pro-choice individual, and I think you can't have true freedom without having the choice. And so, that sets me apart. So when I say I'm more moderate, I kind of fall in that center to where, I think most voters in this state, we'll see voters that will vote for a Republican for governor, but vote for a Democrat for U.S. Senate. So it's, we're a purple
True.
state, and I think a lot of people are on that moderate side. And so, that's where I land.
What can you do? What would you suggest to help get more of the vote out? Because Nevada historically has always, or for some time, had a low voter turnout, especially in the primary. Got the general coming up. That's right around the corner. What will you do to get people incentivized to get out and vote?
Yeah, I mean, there are several ballot initiatives that are on the docket as well as a presidential election. So I think we're going to see a pretty high turnout for this election. I think there's like 7 ballot initiatives. So that typically drives voters out to make their voice heard, and so does a presidential. And I think it's a highly contested one, so I do see that playing a factor. For us in specifics to our campaign, we're just talking about, simple solutions, the kitchen table stuff,
Right.
how important it is to get out. I think,
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's been actors in the last several years that have created narratives that, things are not secure or that
Yeah,
things are
right.
rigged, that
Yeah.
their vote doesn't matter, their voice
Yeah,
doesn't count.
yeah.
And so I've been trying to overcome that and talk about how important it is to get out and that their voice is valuable and it's important in all those things.
Oh,
So
God.
that's what we're talking
Absolutely,
about.
Yeah. Don't think your vote is going to be lost. You've got to get out and vote, show up in person, mail it in or whatever, but you got to do it. And like I say, you've got to know the candidates, whether you agree with them or not. You get to vet them, see where they stand. if they match up any in their philosophy with what you're thinking about, or you agree, and then that way you can make an informed decision. Yeah. All right, what have you got coming up as far as events? I know you got some coming up. We're talking about, a barbecue in somebody's backyard, a town hall, a meet and greet, pizza with Brandon or whatever, that type of thing. What have you got coming up that people could find out about it? And it's all going to be posted on his website. So don't forget, and give them the website address again.
Absolutely. It's electbrandondavis.com. You can go on there and see
Pretty
events.
Pretty simple, yeah.
Yeah. And the biggest things right now are with volunteers. So if you want to volunteer, you want to help us make calls, write postcards, knock doors, do social media, anything.
Yeah.
I mean, anything with the campaign, reach out to me. My cell phone and my email address are right on the website.
Yeah. And don't forget this. Like I say, it takes time, takes money to run a campaign. I don't care what office you're running for. And that always helps the candidate to get the word out, the way he wants to. So check him out. Go to his website. Help him out if you can. Like I say, knocking on doors and showing up at events and passing out flyers or doing whatever you want to do. And especially if you live in District 34. And it's all very, very important. Last question, what makes you so confident you're going to be able to get along with people across the aisle?
I think, again, through owning, operating, starting, building multiple businesses, I've had to work with difficult individuals or work with people, who might think differently than me, build teams, collaborate, communicate. I've been in the communication space for 20 years. So, that's a start. I know how to communicate, and I know what to work together with people. I sit on the board of a very, very large nonprofit. So this is just stuff that comes natural for me, but also, again, comes from being that moderate kind of thinker, right? And understanding, what works on this side and what works on that side, and trying to bridge that gap and bring it in together. It's not about compromise. I stand on my principles and will not, cave on that. But I think at the end of the day, understanding what somebody else wants and what I want and finding a way to bridge that gap and make it happen, I'm very good at that.
Yeah. Two heads are better than one. You got to compromise. That's the name of the game. That's the name of the game. Anyway, that's it for this episode of our show today. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and please hit the notification bell on YouTube so you know when we have a new show coming out. And also, please leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know how we're doing. We appreciate any constructive criticism that you might want to leave us. Anyway, thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me.
I know
this is
you
great
are
as
so
always.
busy, and check them out, folks. Check them out. And we're going to be back next week, same time, same place, for another edition of Pick Your Politics. So until then, remember, get out and vote, and we'll see you all next week. So long, everybody.